Hi everyone, welcome to this assignment on formulae. And as you very well know, formulae is a very important topic when it comes to analysis because it's all about your logic and your maths skills. Okay, and I assume you guys are really good at it, and that's what will make you really good analysts. So let us look at this data. As I said, every data has its own story. So what is the story of this data? This data gives us how many hours has every employee worked, what is the hourly rate, the total earnings and bonuses, which department they are from, what is the experience, and whether they are part time or full time. All right. So to understand this data and how do we analyze it, let's go back a bit. There are some things that we already know, right? For example, if you want to see what are the total bonuses that were given, we can simply do sum and then we can select this entire data range. Instead of typing it, I'm just selecting it and hit enter. 6,900. Now to find out total earnings, we can again do the same thing or we can do a smarter way. Now that we've already entered the formula over here for this column, we can simply hit on this blue dot over here, just like we used to drag down. Instead, we'll go to the left. So it'll automatically apply the same logic of summing this to this column. It has already done that. Okay. Copy paste also does it in a similar fashion. For example, if I copy this particular cell and paste it over here, it'll give me the sum of all these hours worked. But let's say I do not want actually the sum, I want the average. Okay. So for average, all I need to do is change the sum to average. Okay, and it'll give me the average number of hours every employee has worked. And these are some of the simpler formulas, the arithmetic formulas that we are pretty much well averse with. But now I want a few complicated things. Okay. So for example, I want to count the total number of employees. So all you need to do is select count and it will count all the particular cells that have any numerical number. Okay. So this I hit enter and it's 60, which is quite obvious because it clearly mentions over here 61 rows and you have to include the first row because that's the header. So 60 employees. But let's say I want a conditional count. I only want to count the people who are in the marketing department. Okay. So all I can do over here is I can select count if. Okay, this is the conditional count. Then I'll give the range. What is the range over here? From F2 to F61. And then I'll give my criteria that it should match marketing department. Okay. So that tells me that there are 14 people in the marketing department. Similarly, if I want to do count if uh, this particular set where I only want to consider the full-time employees. So it gives me a total of 37 employees. Now similarly, I can also do sum if. So let's say I only want to add the bonuses that were given to those people in the IT sector. Okay, so I can do sum if over here wherein I basically take the list over here, check for the marketing department, and then I select the particular column which I want to add. So that is the bonus column. And I close this, and this gives me 1590. Just to double confirm it, because you might be wondering this might be wrong. So I can simply filter out the marketing, sorry, the IT team, right? For which team was it? Let's change it. The IT team, right? And I just have to add all of these. If I remove this over here, you can see it's 2180, same as what we got over here. So this might look slow at times. Now that you've learned pivot table, you must be wondering why am I doing it so slowly? But things can get complicated when you're considering formulas, and pivot tables cannot cover everything, to be very honest. This was the simplest set of formulas. In the coming examples, you'll also explore conditional operations like a lot of nested if and else clause. You explore VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs, which will be really tricky and super duper useful. Now, I want you guys to understand the last concept of this video, and that is the dollar sign, the importance of the dollar sign. Now, I'm not talking about the American currency, not the dollar value of rupees. I'm talking about the dollar sign that you mentioned in formulas. Let me quickly explain this to you with another example. Importance of dollar sign. Let us understand how unhealthy some food items are. Okay, so let's just mention the food item over here and let's mention the grams of sugar. Okay, how much sugar is there in each of these foods? Okay, let's make it bold. Let's take just four simple examples. Let's take biscuits. Uh, let's take chocolates. After that, we have jellies. And finally, we have jams. Okay, let's give random values. Biscuit has 20 grams, chocolates have 35 grams, 10, and jams has 28 grams. Now, what we want is how much sugar is allowed to be consumed. Okay, what's a healthy quantity of sugar? Healthy quantity of sugar. Let's assume that it is somewhere around uh, 8. Okay, 8 grams is a healthy limit. So over here, if you want to know how unhealthy it is, how many times is it unhealthy, right? For this, all we need to do is divide the sugar that is there in these objects with the healthy quantity. For example, is equal to, as we do formulas, we'll select this B2 divided by E2. So it says that it is 2.5 times unhealthy. Alright. Similarly, what we have learned in the past, we can either enter it for each and every one of them equals to 35 by 8. But I think we want to do a smarter way, right? We just want to click over here and we want to drag it. But now you'll make a mistake. And Google Sheets is suggesting that you've made a mistake and a correction, but I want you to first understand your mistake. Okay. So I'll select this only, and the error is that it is trying to divide by 0. But how? We tried it to divide by 8, so it's not actually dividing it by 0, right? But no. The problem is that over here, the formula was B2 divided by E2. When you dragged it down, then B went down to C3. From B2 it went down to B3, but even E2 went down to E3, which is basically nothing, it's 0. Similarly, when you dragged it down further, B3 became B4 and E3 became E4, again 0. So, what did you actually want to do? You wanted this column's values to keep on going down, but this you wanted to keep it in this particular cell of E2, right? You wanted to keep it over there. So the aspect of locking a particular cell is done using the dollar sign. And you can either lock the column, either you can lock the row, or you can lock both. And this is what we learned today. Right? So over here, before I drag it down, I'll delete this. I want to lock the row number. So before the row number, I'll put a E2. Okay, I have put in a dollar over here. So it's now E dollar 2. I hope you guys can see it. And it has asked me to suggest autofill, but I'll just drag it again. Now it will not be a problem. Why? Because E2 is now locked. Now similarly, if it was being dragged from left to right and you wanted to lock the column, you would put the dollar sign before E. Right? There are different use cases. I hope you've understood what we are trying to do, different applications of it. We'll understand it as and when we follow different projects. Okay. I hope this much is clear and we'll see you in the next video.